Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me at benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcast because People of Distinction is a nationally and internationally syndicated show because of listeners like you. Our shows are available across all major podcast distributors as well as YouTube. And if you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. We appreciate the support. Continue to like and follow and sit back and strap in because on the line with us today, we have the impressive Robert McGuiness. For a lot of you, you may remember Robert when he was on our network previously. Well, we had such a great time. It was such a wonderful conversation. It was a no-brainer, man. We had to invite him back. Now, this time we're discussing his book, The Attenuating Puritan, once again. But be on the lookout for another book that he's written called Dropped Calls, as well as a sequel to The Attenuating Puritan. That's still in creation. People, I'm telling you, a one-stop shop for everything that he has in store is Amazon, Barnes & Noble, a whole host of other online resellers, as well as his personal site, robertmcguinnessbooks.com. There, you're going to gather more information on him, more information on his fantastic novels. But like I mentioned, be on the lookout because there is a sequel to The Attenuating Puritan that is going to be released very shortly. So one more time, that's robertmcguinnessbooks.com. And before we go any further, I want to take this opportunity and point out the fact that Robert was brought to our network by one of the best publishing firms in the business. People you already know, I'm talking about Quipper Prints. So if you're a writer out there and you've gone through your process creating your masterpiece and now you need help moving the book you just developed, well, contact Quipper. This is exactly what they specialize in, people. You're going to want to head on over to quipperprints.com today and gather all the ways that their fantastic team is going to help you do just that. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Robert here on the line. Now, like I mentioned, people, we had such a great time discussing his book, The Attenuating Puritan, last time. The message is so powerful. It's something we needed to have a new discussion with. Now, it's a fantasy novel, all right? So it's written from an entertainment standpoint. But underneath the entertainment is a fantastic message that we can all take to the bank. Now, in this novel, we're going to follow a protagonist who embarks upon a journey to clean up the Garden of Eden. Now, through his actions, he will in turn help clean up our world. Now, that is really where the message comes in for this book, because not only when we talk about cleaning up our world, this main protagonist takes a lot of it on himself, but the message here is that we all have a part to play. This is a multi-layered and a very nuanced conversation. Please believe it, we're only scratching the surface here today. There is so much to be taken, which is why you're going to have to go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, robertmcguinnessbooks.com, and purchase your copies yourself. And at the end of the day, Robert is the expert, man, so let's bring him here with us. Robert, first and foremost, welcome back to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm thrilled to be here, and it's wonderful to be speaking with you again, Benji.
Robert, for our listening audience members who happen to miss the previous time you were with us, let's start off by learning a little bit more about yourself and your background.
Well, I was born in New York, and I went to school in Smithtown, New York. When I graduated high school, I moved to the West Coast, and I've been here ever since. Mm-hmm. I was a back to the lander, as they say, and I was recently I've been involved in an oak restoration project. I'm an avid lily grower. I'm learning piano, and I live with my son, and I have a daughter who has 3 children as well, and they're the world to me.
Yeah.
You know, my son had been involved in an accident, so I've been his primary caregiver for decades now. Yeah, well, it's a part of life, and
Yeah.
we we eat what we're served, and that was on my plate, and
Yeah.
it continues to be on my plate. So
Got to play the cards that you're dealt, right?
exactly, and he was very young when he was injured. So in his and it was an unfortunate accident with a log truck, in which his mother was killed.
Oh
But
my goodness.
he was
I'm
only
so
20
sorry.
months old at the time, and he was comatose for months, and it really had me delving into exploring the developmental issues and
Yeah.
to understand the brain as much as I could, and and everything that we did for him for all these years was to encourage him and to grow a healthy person. So there's a lot of things that you take for granted when your baby's born that when they're all of a sudden swiped back to have, he couldn't swallow, he couldn't breathe, he couldn't sit up for
Wow.
a year,
Yeah.
and all those types of things. And then you're just encouraging and praying and hoping each time you do something, learn to approach him from a certain side so it encourages the use of that side of his body and all those types of things that you just take for granted when your baby's born, that all those million D things work perfectly,
Yeah.
and you never think about, well, what if they didn't work, and so even in his bone age studies and things like that, we discounted almost 2 years because all the nutrition went back into rewiring and reworking, so they didn't actually go into his growth at that time. So it's a very amazing process, and it's you can learn a lot from him if you pay attention. So,
Right.
I vigiled for 30, almost 40 years now. It's like let's keep this thing working. And it's a blessing. Because before that I just took the birth as a natural process, and I didn't really understand all the subtleties that are involved with the miracle of moving your pinky or the miracle of wiggling your big toe. And now to me, everything is a miracle.
Yeah. Well, Robert, I mean, listen, man, first and foremost, my sincerest apologies and condolences. I know, we said it a few moments ago, and it's absolutely true. Like, you got to play the hand that you were dealt. And unfortunately, sometimes the deck isn't as kind to us as we would like.
I think, on the other hand, is if you, you build character by eating what's on your plate,
yeah.
and sometimes, you are, if you're cognizant and you're faithful, you realize that nothing was dealt unfairly, and you were gifted that because you had the strength to handle it, so I look at it like that a lot, and I feel like there's a lot on my plate, but I felt like that's because I could handle a lot.
Yeah.
And my son's absolutely wonderful, and wouldn't think, it's what it is,
Yeah.
And yeah, there were some rough and dark days, but that's my life, and I'm enjoying my life, and I'm not separating anything out, that's what it is. So.
Right.
And that and tying that into the story is when we talk about the environment and things we consume, is we've gone from 1 in 100,000 live births having autism down under 1 in 100. And that's not happening. No reason. There's reasons that's happening.
Exactly.
And the other thing that is that in every classroom in America, children are on medication that we didn't used to distribute the way we do. And these are real issues, and it's like we're so nonchalant about our environment, and we're so nonchalant about and lazy in the way that we try to solve the symptoms without solving the root causes of problems. A lot of these things are distributed or just dealing with symptoms. But now we have a huge population of people that don't have the ability to think for themselves, that are reacting to everything they see. And I wanted to create a character that was in that light, that was a little bit ADD, a little ADHD, maybe a little bit autistic, where he could get stuck and obsessed with things. And that's why it was easy for him to get stuck cleaning up the Garden of Eden. He went to church when he was young, and all those things made sense. And then when we got out in the world, all of a sudden it didn't make sense anymore. So he carried something from his childhood with him, and then he got stuck. So his mission is his mission alone. He's not asking for help. He's just doing what he's doing, but he's really broken in places. And that's what we really point out. And some of the things that he encounters makes him get sicker and sicker. And then some of the things are just put in there for us as a society to observe and to wonder why. He decides he's going to drink all the water he can in Flint, Michigan, because it has lead in it. And then he realizes he can't drink all the water in Flint, Michigan, so he targets churches, and he's drinking the holy water, thinking that he will help save the Lord's people. And after he does that for a while, it dawns on him that the communion hosts have glyphosate in it, and glyphosate's causing cancer. And he has this puzzle that he can't solve, is why would a sacrament to take the Lord be tainted? And does the Lord know this? And if he does, why would he allow it? Right. And isn't there something the Lord could do to clean up the glyphosate in the wheat that the communion hosts are made from? And it's a spiritual puzzle. How can we really claim spirituality? We can't even get the spirit into our bodies in a sacred way, and it just allows you to see that we've left no stone unturned and we've left nothing sacred.
Robert, thank you very much. People, I'm telling you, this is layered, man. And even that last notion that you just brought up in terms of the specific holy water being tainted and why would God allow that? Well, listen, that connects to probably an age-old question that can overlap with a lot of things. When we see so many atrocities happening around the world, that question always arises, right? Why would God allow such mass extermination, such mass murder? Listen, that's not the point of today's discussion, so we're not going to dive down that rabbit hole, but I do think that is a great connection that you've established. So thank you very much for that. Robert, you've started to go into inspiration, so I want to stick here for a second. But listen, man, I can't get past the fact that your main protagonist, not only is he attempting to clean up the world, but you got him cleaning up the Garden of Eden first. And I love that. And I don't know, maybe there's something more there. I don't think it was just arbitrary to put in, the Garden of Eden in that way. So what inspired you to choose that setting, and how does it reflect your views on environmental conservation?
Well, I think is that, if you're raised in traditional churches, is that, you're a person of God or you're not, and if you're a person of God, all the places that you would be are of God, so just keeping this character in character, he needed to be under God and in God's place, and they're the things that I really wanted to bring out, This is, and maybe there's another Garden of Eden or two, but any place that we can perceive would be part of the garden. It's all God's country.
People, again, the book is called The Attenuating Puritan. It's available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, but check out his personal website, robertmcguinnessbooks.com. There, you're gathering more information on him, on this novel, but also look at the other book that he's written called Dropped Calls. And like I mentioned before, check back in frequently, man, because there is a sequel to The Attenuating Puritan. And I promise you, when you pick this book up, you're not going to be able to put it down until you're completed with it. And you're going to want to get the sequel the moment it becomes available as well. Robert, transitioning here, but Can you share with our listening audience any challenges that you faced in writing the book when you were balancing the fictional elements of the story with real life messages of environmental awareness?
Well, there was a couple of things that I wanted to stick to when I was doing it, and one of it was to be accurate in the places that he goes. So he travels through some Superfund sites in Colorado, and that's kind of a no-brainer because you can research those and you can find out what they were producing, but more than that is the things that happened to him and the things that would happen if you were cleaning up the environment. He has colon cancer at one point. And it was because he was attenuating emulsifiers like polysorbate 80. And on the cover of the book, he's standing between two mirrors, and you can see the back of his robe, and it has like the Shroud of Turin, which is the bloody anal stigmata, which is he bleeds the face of Jesus, and he's always saying that the Lord has my back, and then literally the Lord is on his back, so we can see that. But then he has fertility issues, and that's a real thing when we look at the infertility rates now, and we look at the plastics as endocrine disruptors. We have a huge population that is very ill. When you have fertility issues, you're really putting a fork in our biologic purpose. And for the males now, it's like over 7% going to 8% in the Western world, and that is, to me, that's criminal. That's a crime against humanity. And I don't think any of it's voluntary. I think this is just what we get when we live like this.
Right.
And that's sad. And so we can look at all the different types of plastics. They've, identified more than 14,000 types of plastics in food packaging, and they found more than 3,600 microplastics in the average human body now. And to just try to picture that, all by itself, So a part of the consciousness is I believe that if we really focus on our cellular behavior and rev up our subcellular components, that we have the capacity to not only attenuate more toxins, but to catabolize them and to render them useless. And, of course, that comes with lots of sweating, lots of praying, lots of fasting, and all the other things that would allow our systems to purge and clean themselves, and encouraging that from 8 billion people on the planet is we would be quite a force for cleaning up a lot of toxins.
Right.
Of course, everybody has to get on board, and we have to work, and we have to not replace those toxins. But it's a lot of machinery, not just thinking about the whole person, but thinking of all the tens of billions of cells in the body that could actually metabolize a particular particle and render it useless. And I believe that we have those capacities.
Robert, that's a great segue that you've established here because, listen, hearing you talk and the things that you're bringing up, and listen, this is not the first time that I have had a conversation about the environment. Well, you just started to talk about things that we can do, things that we should be mindful of, and how to detox. Well, now you're bringing up a point of potential redemption. And I want to go in that direction now because I do think that there's a lot of benefit in evaluating that. So first and foremost, from your novel standpoint, does it address the elephant in the room of redemption and how to do that, how to redeem ourselves, but also as a message left to readers, what are you wanting to say and how are they then to take this message and travel along that journey? I know that's a long and very deep question for you, but please entertain our listening audience and try to answer that, man.
Well, it's funny because it's when I was talking to you last time, as I said, it started out pseudo comically, and I had the guy with the English accent saying, "And though I am pure in thought, word, and deed, my behaviors occasionally reflect the toxins my forefathers have bequeathed. Oh Lord, must I do the do? Brominated vegetable oil binds to my iodide receptors, attenuating in my thyroid and mimicking schizophrenia." And and that's exactly what you're saying, is that these things are mass marketed. There's no control over them. And the brominated vegetable oil does indeed bind to the iodide receptors, and it does mimic schizophrenia. So why we, when you look at the Mountain Dew commercials, is everybody's all jacked up with no place to go, and we take it like a Red Bull, a sign, that we're invincible,
Yeah.
And that was part of the thing that I thought that I could have many of these Puritan stories, because I can go so many different places and find something to write about. I can look out my door. But the thing that I was most fascinated was I could go in my food cabinet and pull almost any packaged food off it and have a story. Because one of those, 30 or 40 lettered words in there has a side effect that we don't even want to read about.
Yeah.
So if you highlight that and make it a condition that he has colon cancer because he's attenuating emulsifiers from ice cream, peanut butter, and bacon, and all those things. And those are the real the real conditions that happen if you are saying, I'm going to clean up the Garden of Eden and we're going to get rid of polysorbate 80. You're going to end up sick. You're going to end up with colon cancer. And like I said, I think any American can go through their cabinets and find something that shouldn't be in there at all, let alone trying to moderate it. So I think that's and then have the consciousness to try to enhance your micro machines and your fasting and your purging and stuff to make that you could go in there and consume little bits of it and then sweat it out or catabolize it or to render it useless. And that's really I think that a lot of the Eastern meditations have to do with being able to purge yourself and being able to rev up micro subcellular machinery, components that might pull toxins out or might repair DNA and all those types of issues. So I think setting ourselves to not just look at our gross beings and say I have muscle or I have fat, but really think that I have endoplasmic reticulum, I have cytoplasm, and think about those subcellular machines that are at work that give us our dynamics, and trying to visualize them working for us and not us trying to slow them down, and be part of that living organism, So, and again, there's no great inspiration there other than my own observations. But, like I said, as I watched my son do amazing things in his recovery, and it left me very interested in that that microcosm of the cell. And I believe it has greater potential than almost any human being is aware of, and pointing that out. Maybe we can get some work done in that direction.
Right. Listen, people, the Attenuating Puritan is the precipice of so much. But I want to highlight, underline, and bolden that word precipice because it's just the beginning. There is so much more, and it is a daunting task. I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm not going to mince words, okay? There is a lot of work that needs to be done. But the main point here is that we can do it. It's going to take time. It's going to take dedication. It takes each and every one of us to do our part. And the Attenuating Puritan is going to help put some things in perspective for you. While you're at it, Yeah, remember, there's another one called Dropped Calls. And also check out the sequel for the Attenuating Puritan the moment it is available. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's robertmcguinnessbooks.com. Head on over there. Pick up your copies today. Robert, man, listen, this has been a true honor, man. Thank you for a riveting conversation. Thank you for the wonderful words of wisdom. And thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you, Benji. The pleasure's all mine,